So it's a big chip move for the Hawks. Is Atlanta gearing up for another move?
Ryan, this trade now sets up the Hawks with additional financial flexibility to go out and swing for a high-priced, big salary player, potentially, namely, Dallas Mavericks star Anthony Davis. The Hawks will pursue Davis the second half of the season ahead of the February trade deadline. The Mavericks will talk to several teams, but the Hawks have been at the forefront of interested parties, along with the Toronto Raptors, for the perennial all-star big man. But in the immediate future, the Hawks are turning.
Okay, let's just stop right there on that last part, because that is the nuclear take in this entire segment. Shams Charania just dropped the real headline, not the trade. But what comes next? The Hawks will pursue Dallas Mavericks star Anthony Davis. The Hawks have been at the forefront of interested parties. Let's unpack how we even got here. The Atlanta Hawks just traded their franchise player, a 25-11 guy, the face of the team for 7 years, for C.J. McCollum, Corey Kispert, and some financial flexibility. On its own, that's a clear step back. A reset. You trade a superstar for role players and cap space, but then, immediately, the narrative flips. This isn't a teardown, they say. This is a reload. They cleared the decks not to tank, but to make a run at Anthony Davis? This is where the logic gets fascinating, and honestly, a little shaky. Let's break down this supposed master plan. First, the fit. Anthony Davis in Atlanta. On paper, with Jalen Johnson, it's intriguing. A defensive anchor, a pick-and-roll nightmare next to Johnson's all-around versatility. It gives them an identity they haven't had in years: size, defense, and interior dominance. But who's creating the offense? Who's the elite playmaker getting AD the ball in his spots? C.J. McCollum is a scorer, not a heliocentric engine. You just traded that engine away. So, immediately, this plan creates another massive gaping hole. Second, the cost. What does Atlanta have left to give? They just sent out their biggest asset in Trae Young and got back no draft capital in this reported deal. To get Anthony Davis from Dallas, a team that just paired him with Luka, you are talking about a historic package. Jalen Johnson would have to be the centerpiece. Are the Hawks, who just anointed him the new franchise face, really going to turn around and trade him? And if not him, what's the package? A pile of role players and future picks they don't really have? Dallas hangs up the phone. Third, and most importantly, the mindset. This feels like front office fantasy. It's the, we'll trade this star for flexibility and then get an even bigger star pipe dream that rarely works. More often, you end up in the middle. Too good to bottom out, not good enough to compete, stuck with the flexibility and no superstar willing to walk into that situation. Anthony Davis has a player option. He can choose his destination. Is a team with Jalen Johnson, C.J. McCollum, and DeJounte Murray, if he's even still there, more appealing than staying with Luka Doncic? Or going to a ready-made contender? It's a tough sell. What this really feels like is the Hawks trying to control the narrative. We didn't just trade Trae Young, we have a grand plan. It's a leak designed to soften the blow for a fan base that just watched an era end. The pursuit of Anthony Davis is the shiny object to distract from the reality that they likely just entered a rebuild. The truth is, the Trae Young trade makes sense for a reset. The Anthony Davis pursuit feels like a hopeful, desperate Hail Mary to skip the hard part. In the NBA, you almost always have to go through the valley to get to the peak. The Hawks are trying to teleport, and history tells us that rarely, if ever, works. But what do you think? Is this a legitimate, cunning plan by the Hawks front office, or is it the kind of hopeful thinking that leads to years of mediocrity? Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into the NBA's biggest stories, make sure to subscribe. We break down the moves behind the moves right here.